Hey everyone, in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to change the oil filter, even things like an air filter for the engine on your riding lawnmower up next. Hey everyone, my name is Jeff and on this channel I do all sorts of home improvement projects, do-it-yourself projects, maintenance, tech reviews, all sorts of stuff. Today I'm working on my Craftsman riding lawnmower. This is an LT2000. I believe this is from 2007. So it's a little bit of an older riding mower model, but it's still running great, and we're going to give it a routine oil change. Now, if you look at the manual, it states that you should do an oil change about every 50 hours of usage time, or about once a season. We're going to be doing that today. So before you start work doing your oil change, these are some of the things that I am going to be using. I've got a container for the oil. Now you can use an oil pan or something, but I'm just going to transfer the oil into a bucket like this anyways. I've got a funnel. I've got my new oil filter, and I'll go into details about that coming up. You can see these grips I'm going to use to get the old filter off. I'm also going to keep my hands clean by using some of these Grease Monkey gloves. You can use any type of plastic gloves. You don't have to. I just like it because it helps keep my hands clean. And then using some rags for cleanup and just kind of laying them around, make sure that we don't get any oil spills left out anywhere. And I'm going to link down in the video description everything I'm talking about in this video. So if you do want to pick up some things like the tools I'm using here, this oil filter, things like that, that'll all be linked down in the video description. So let's do a quick rundown of the oil change. So first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and open up the hood to my mower. This exposes my engine. Right here is going to be my oil cap, which also has a dipstick underneath it. That is where you're going to add more oil. Just below that, down here, this is where the oil is going to drain out. So this is my drain plug. I'm going to uncap this, and this is where I'm going to put my, if you've got an oil pan, you can stick it underneath. You know, it's something to catch all the oil that you're going to drain out of your engine. Now, some of the mowers are different, where you might have your drain plug on the other side. We also have an oil filter, which is not on this side of my mower. Let's sneak around to the other side. If we go right down here, here is the oil filter that I'm going to be replacing. On here is written the model number, and I will give you guys, or the part number, I will give you guys that here shortly, as well as link down below where you can pick this up. Another safety piece of advice before performing the oil change is go ahead and find your spark plug at the front of your engine. There's going to be this cable with this black cap on it. You're going to just go ahead and pop that straight off. That's your spark plug. That's just to prevent any accidental starting or anything like that while you're doing your oil change. When you're done with your maintenance work, you can go ahead and just pop this back in, and that will allow you to start your riding mower back up. So I'm gonna just counterclockwise about a quarter turn my oil cap. That allows me to pull it out and exposes my dipstick. On the dipstick, there's a couple of things. One is right here, there is these two dots. In between those two dots is ideally where you want your oil level. There's a word right here that says add with an arrow pointing to this dot, and then another word here that says full pointing to this dot. You want your oil to be in between. This oil that I also have here is really black, which also signifies that it's really dirty and needs to be changed. And obviously it's a little bit low because it's not in between those two dots. So not only would I need to add some more oil to this, but because I'm doing the full oil change, I'm just going to drain all this out and replace it with some new fresh oil. So you might actually be asking what type of oil you should be adding. This is a Briggs & Stratton engine. Briggs & Stratton on their website has a cool web page that talks all about the different types of oil. I'll link to that down in the video description. But essentially I'm going to be using 10W30, which is more of an all temperatures type of oil. If you are in more of a cold temperature type of climate, you're going to want to use 5W30. You want to make sure that it's SAE, either 10W30 or 5W30 that you're using. But again, if you want more specifics, check out that link in the video description. So trying to get the best angle and view for this drain tube. First, we're going to remove this cap, and I'm making sure that my funnel is right underneath. There's nothing coming out. There is this lock that's on this tube, and essentially I'm going to push in and turn this lock, and that is going to access the oil. So we're going to push in, turn, I'm going to pull this out, and we can actually see the oil draining into our funnel. We're going to let that drain until I can tell that the oil, or the majority of the oil here, has completely drained out of the engine. Now, in addition to the jug that I'm using for the oil that is coming out of the drain plug on the other side, I do also have an oil pan, and what I'm going to do is just slide this underneath the tractor so that it is directly under the oil filter. I'm going to remove this, and there is going to be some excess oil that's going to drip down. So next, let's work on removing this old oil filter. You can try gripping it, and you're probably not going to get it off. So you're going to want to get yourself a pair of these grips or an oil filter wrench, and essentially that's going to give you a better grip than just using your hands. Now unscrew this oil filter. You can always remember lefty loosey, righty tighty, and then from this point I can finish just unscrewing it. You'll see the oil is starting to drip down below. I'm just tilting the oil filter down into the pan to let any excess oil drip out of that, but I'm also getting it dripping down the side of the rail here, so I am going to use those towels to clean that up. So this particular filter was a Briggs & Stratton. The number is right there. It is 492932. 492932. Here's that new oil filter, 492932. So we're going to pop this out. Okay, so I've got some of my new oil, and I've got my oil filter. I'm just going to dip my finger in this and put a layer of new oil, fresh oil, around the rim of this oil filter before I screw it back on. And then I'm going to go ahead and attach this by just screwing it back on to the engine here. So the instructions on the oil filter, and good practice, is to hand tighten this oil filter. You don't want to over tighten it because you can do some damage, but you want to create a good seal and you don't want this leaking. So this is just something I do, and again, you're taking this into your own maintenance here and your own responsibility, but I usually hand tighten this engine filter, and then I will use those grips or oil filter wrench, and I will just tighten this like maybe another quarter turn. Now we've got our oil filter installed. So my oil tube is down to a trickle, if not completely done. It's been draining for a while now. I let it sit for 15 minutes. I'm closing that valve back up, so I was able to get the nub on it set, and now I'm just going to close the cap. And we're going to pull this out of here. I'm going to use some towels, clean up any oil that might have dripped. We can see all the dirty oil that has come out. I'm going to dispose of this at I believe my recycling center takes this, but you got to check with your municipality to figure out how to properly dispose of oil by you. So we're going to put fresh oil in my riding mower. I've got a funnel. How much oil to put in? I'm going to start with a quart and then use the dipstick on here to measure in between those two dots to make sure I've got a good amount of oil in my engine. Now before you're putting oil back in, again, make sure you've closed that valve, you've capped off your drain tube, you got your oil filter on, snug, tight, ready to go, and then we're going to go ahead and start adding our new oil. So I've added about a quart of oil. We're going to check this. Pop my dipstick in, close it up, let it sit for a couple seconds, go ahead and unscrew it, bring it back out. So this is the dipstick, and you can see the oil line, and it is right on the second dot. You can see where it says full with an arrow, and then on the other side it says add. The oil goes right up to that second dot. So my oil is right in the range it needs to be. I'm gonna start the mower up, let it run a little bit for a couple of minutes, turn it back off, check the oil level again, and you might find that as that oil circulates, the level for the dipstick here may not be as high as it was. You may need to add just a little bit more oil. The last tip I want to show you guys is changing your air filter. Good process to check this while you're doing your oil filter. On mine, it is located on the top right here, and I've got a lever that I can just pull up. That gives me access to unlocking this cover. And I'm just gonna fold this up, pull this out, and this just comes off, and now I can see my filter. And let's pull this filter out and take a look at it. Woo! Yeah, this guy is definitely in need of a change. Very dirty. I could blow this out if I wanted to. I just went on Amazon. I bought a new one that I'm going to be popping in, and I will put a link down in the video description if you want to pick the same one up. Again, check your model number on this thing, but this is what mine looks like. And all this gunk and stuff that's inside, I'm going to make sure I get all that cleared out. Could blow this out with a can of air. But ideally, you don't want any of this gunk going into your engine, so we want as clean of a filter. This guy is filthy, and we want to clean all this out as well. There's also an old screen in here, which I'm just going to pop out, and my filter came with a new screen. So I'm putting the screen in first. So that guy is in there, making sure that that casing is pushed in. And then I'm actually going to put the cover on so that that's the notches are in the grooves, and then go ahead and put my air filter inside, push that in good so it makes good contact, and then I'm going to close this cover, go ahead and latch it, make sure everything is secure and tight, and we are good to go. With the oil changed, air filter changed, I'm going to close this up. We're going to start it up, let it run for a little bit, check our oil one more time, and we should be good to go. So let me know how the process of changing your oil went down in the comments section below. I do appreciate you guys watching. I do weekly videos on this channel. I've done other videos on my riding mower, so things like changing your cutting blades. If you haven't done that, check out that video. I was having a problem where my blades were not disengaging when I was using the lever on my mower. Did a whole video on that process as well, what was causing that and more. So those will be popping up at the end of this video. There'll be a playlist that you can check out. My name's Jeff. I do appreciate you guys watching. Be sure to make every day awesome, and I will see you guys in the next video.